Hey guys, it's Lane with Tim's Nation, coming to you today to tell you a little bit about the DeathGuard list I'm bringing today. Now, this will be my first time actually playing DeathGuard in 10th edition. I haven't played them yet because whenever I was building lists, I felt like they were too expensive. I felt like I couldn't put as many of the things I wanted to put into the list. And I'm glad that they recently, with the new balanced data slate, dropped some of the points and made things a little more interesting, mostly so I could squeeze 15 vehicles into a single list. Uh, I, I have a decent DeathGuard collection. I have a bunch of Plague Marines and Poxwalkers and Terminators. But every time I start building the DeathGuard list, I just want to squeeze in all the vehicles just because I don't know, I like the models, I like the kits. So today is going to be 15 Deathwatch vehicles, 2 squads of the Death Shroud Terminators and 1 character. Hopefully I have enough units that can do actions when I need them to do actions or get into board control positions. I could have taken 16 vehicles, but I felt like I needed 2 squads of the Death Shrouds to be able to deep strike and get me into better positioning. So we'll see how things work out. I don't really know. I don't really think this list has any legs competitively. We'll see if all the multi-meltas on my my Fennec Blight Haulers, we're getting their +1 to wound against the vehicles. We'll see if that's relevant in this game. I'm hoping it is. We've got a couple vehicles in the list that we're facing against DJ today. So this is my first time playing the DeathGuard, so I appreciate any advice you have in the comments. Like I said, I have a big DeathGuard collection. The only thing I don't really have is Mortarion. I never, bit the bullet and got him. But I do have a lot of other models. So if you've got suggestions for good DeathGuard builds, I'd love to hear about them. I haven't studied the stratagems a whole lot, so I'm going to be looking at the stratagems quite a bit. Hopefully I can use some. I know there's some solid ones in there, especially with some of the synergies we have going on the list. But we're going to go through the list here together, to tell you a little bit about what I've got going on today, and then we'll jump over to the battle report. All right, so first off, we have the new and improved DeathGuard. This is my first game with them after the balanced data slate and the points changes. It's very interesting, the special rule they gave them for their spread the sickness for the contagion buffs. I'm not really decided yet what I'm going to do. Probably affecting the armor because I'm going against Grey Knights and the whole army is basically 2-up armor. So if I can adjust their armor characteristics, that's going to help me out quite a bit throughout this game. So maybe the spread the sickness buff that we take. So, but first of all, the list here. So as you may know, I'll just go over what changed in the balanced data slate. So the significant rule change is that they added a benefit to the contagion range. As you know, the contagion range, the contagion Nurgle's gift, makes any enemy units that are within the contagion range -1 toughness. Well, now they have another buff or debuff, as it were, to your opponent's models. And you get to choose one of these 3 things at the start of the game. So first off, you could choose Skull Squirm Blight. Basically, while an enemy unit is within contagion range, you worsen the ballistic skill and weapon skill of characteristics of the models in that enemy unit by 1. So you're not just modifying the dice roll, you're actually modifying their characteristic. The second option is Battle Joint Ague. While an enemy unit is within contagion range of this unit, worsen the save characteristic of models in that unit by 1. So again, modifying the save, not just the AP on your weapon. And then finally, Scabrous Soul Rot. While an enemy unit is within contagion range of this unit, worsen the leadership and objective control characteristics of models in this unit by 1 to a minimum of 1. So like I said, being that I'm playing into Grey Knights and their armor saves are almost universally a 2-up, I will probably be choosing, let's see, the Rattle Joint Ague, so that I'll be changing their characteristics whenever they're in contagion range. But as for the list itself, so today I only have 1 character. The character we've got today is the Lord of Contagion. So he's going to be leading a squad of Death Shroud Terminators. His special rules today, he's got 2 special rules. First off, he lets his unit reroll all hits in combat. Decent, not amazing, but being that I can also have a stratagem that gives me sustained hits. That might be a good way to kind of fish for some sustained hits. So we'll see if that comes into play. His second special rule is Abundance of Sickness. It's kind of hilarious. If he takes a wound in the fight phase, each time he takes a wound in the fight phase, I roll a d6. On a 4-up, the closest enemy unit within engagement range suffers a mortal wound. So as he gets injured, he may injure the enemies around him. So I think that's kind of hilarious. That's it for the characters. We have, as far as infantry, we just have 2 units of the Death Shroud Terminators. These guys have Deep Strike. That's why I brought them, because they're the lowest point cost units I have for Deep Strike, just so I can drop them into places. And they're nice and durable. Toughness 6, 2-up armor, 3-up, 3 wounds, 4-up invuln. So they have decent durability. I'll be using them to primarily score secondaries and primaries, getting onto objectives, that sort of thing. Not really going to use them for the damage output, although they can swing pretty hard in combat. Now, as far as their special rule is concerned, whenever they are led by a character, if they are hit by an attack that has a strength higher than their toughness, you reduce the wound roll by 1. So it just makes them -1 to wound, and anytime they're attacked by something that is stronger than their toughness. Now, this is the big part of the list. My favorite thing to do is take 9 Mephitic Blighthaulers, because they come in squads of 3. I have 3 squads of 3. I just love these little models. I think they're such a cool design, and I enjoyed painting them. Contrast paints on the whole army here made it paint off really quick. But yeah, they've got a multi-melta, a missile launcher that fires either a crack or frag missile. They got a little bile spurt. They have a little bit of a close combat attack, although it's not real strong. Their special rule, though, is that anytime they shoot or anytime they attack, make a ranged attack, so it is a shooting attack, a vehicle unit, you can add 1 to the wound roll, which means their strength 9 multi-meltas will get a little bit, and the crack missiles will get a little extra oomph into the vehicles. But yeah, hopefully they don't get tied up by any infantry squads for too long. But I'm looking to see that these guys run across the table and kind of fight up in the midboard a little bit. Next, we got 1 Hellbrute. My Hellbrute model, as you might notice, is actually a pretty vintage GW model, probably a Forge World model. It was resin when I built it. Didn't really have any options with this kit, but I think it looks pretty cool. It's definitely an older school Hellbrute. It's got twin heavy bolters on it and basically a Hellbrute Power Fist Hellbrute close combat weapon. The Hellbrute does have a couple special rules. So first off, anytime he charges in to combat, I believe he does impact damage. So yeah, after he completes a charge move, you select one enemy unit that he got into engagement range of, and roll a d6 on 2+. That enemy unit takes d3 mortal wounds. So he can kick out a few mortals on the charge. He also has a pretty cool ability called Infused with the Blessings of Nurgle. Basically, after he shoots or after he fights, I pick 1 enemy unit that he hit with an attack, and that enemy unit will be counted as being in contagion range until the start of my next turn. So I can tag something, even if it's further away, with the twin heavy bolters, and suddenly that becomes within contagion range, regardless of how far away it is from any DeathGuard models. That might be super useful, especially when I've got Plague Burst Crawlers, and I've got the Mephitic Blighthaulers on the table. They're going to be shooting at some of the more prime targets. So we'll see if that comes into play here, but I will definitely be trying to make full use of that throughout the game. Next, we have 3 of the Fetid Bloat Drones. I don't do a whole lot of conversions, guys. I find that I don't have time for conversions. I have a huge pile of shame, and just converting things slows down my build and paint process. It takes me forever. But I thought the flesh mowers were pretty cool, and I didn't want to buy all new kits, so I found a couple cheap Fetid Bloat Drones on eBay that were from the Dark Imperium box, the box set a couple editions ago that had the DeathGuard models in it. And these were ones that had the Plague Spitters on it, but they're all kind of busted up and broken up. plague spitters were broken off and missing. So what I did is I bought them, got them real cheap, and then I went to the hardware store and got some wall anchors that were kind of screw shaped. I glued them together end to end, and then I had some branches from some model tree bits, and I glued them on there and painted them a bone color. So the flesh mowers look like they're being held by some spindly bones sticking out of the bloat drones, and I put some gross bloody gore on there so that we can see that they've recently been used and successfully used to take out some enemies of the Death Guard. So I've got 3 of them. These guys are going to be good for close combat, obviously, but they also have an interesting rule where they can fall back and shoot and charge, which means if I get them into engagement range, charge a unit with them, get into the fight, and then on my next turn, I need to do an action somewhere, I can actually fall back and do the action with them. We'll see if that comes into play this game, but I'm going to keep that in mind. Hopefully, you can score some points with that. And finally, we've got 2 of the Plague Burst Crawlers. The models actually have on them the Plague Spitters, but of course, I'm taking the Entropy Cannons, so they do have Entropy Cannons in the game. And then their special rule is their indirect fire mortar. Anytime it hits something that I believe it's an infantry only unit, will need to take a battle shock test after being hit. All right, guys, I'm excited to get the Death Guard on the table. I love my models. I love the look of the army. They're gross and disgusting. Most of my armies are Imperial. I don't have many Xenos or very many Chaos armies, but I'm glad the Chaos army I do have is definitely the grossest and most disgusting one. They were a lot of fun to paint up with contrast paints. I did that from the beginning, and they painted up really quick. It was a good time. Now, as far as playing the game, like I said, I'm not sure that these are going to be competitive in the least. And we all know that DJ has done pretty well with his Grey Knights in the past. They just got some points drops as well, so they're probably even stronger. But I'm hoping that he has a hard time damaging all these vehicles with most of his weapons, and hoping that once I put the stink on him, I put the pox on him, and reduce his armor characteristic by 1, I'm going to be able to get some work done and get into these, especially things like the Land Raider and even just the infantry. They're all 2-up armor. That's going to be hard for me to chew through all that. So follow me over to the battle report, see how they actually do. Hopefully they put the hurt on some of these Grey Knights. Hopefully the stinkiest boys in the galaxies can fight off some of the shiniest boys in the galaxies. But follow me over, guys, and we'll see how it goes.